What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sons of Sever YouTube channel where there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad gear. My name is Eric. Today my brother Chris and I will be reviewing for you the Xero Shoes Scrambler Low Waterproof. We've gotten quite a few hiking shoes into our hands for the spring and summer. We're excited to talk to you about this one. It's the only one that we have right now that is waterproof. So that's something that's pretty cool about it. Chris and I are going to talk about all the things that we like and don't like about this shoe. There's timestamps in the description if you want to jump around. But before I send it over to him to talk about his first like, we wanted to let everybody know that we're going to the Barefoot Shoe Expo in a few weeks. And it's an event that we're super excited about. There's going to be a ton of different barefoot shoe brands there. And we're going to be interviewing as many as we can and then posting those interviews here on our YouTube channel. So make sure that you're subscribed to the channel so you don't miss out on any of those. But now I'm going to send it over to Chris to get us started with his first like.
The first like that I want to mention for the Scrambler Low Trail is going to be the traction pattern. It is just a bunch of chevrons that the front ones face back and the back ones face front. So that's going to work well when you're going up and down the trail. When it comes to surfaces, this does really well on obviously those typical trail surfaces. So dirt, gravel, if you are walking along or stepping over logs, this is going to grip really well to those surfaces. Even on grass and other vegetation, I find that this almost has a cleat-like effect where it digs into those surfaces. But spoiler alert for later in the video, the traction pattern is going to come back up in my dislikes because there are some surfaces it doesn't handle great. But when it comes to the majority of surfaces you're going to see when you're taking these things out on a trail, the traction pattern does really nicely.
Okay, so when it comes to my first like of the Xero Shoes Scrambler Low, I really like the way that these shoes look. And that is a very big deal for Xero Shoes because I think for a long time they had some pretty bad looking shoes and it's been steadily getting better and better. We reviewed their Ridgeway Chelsea this past winter, and I think that's the best looking Xero shoe that's ever come out. So they're definitely improving, and I think that this is a shoe that goes in the right direction too. I really like this colorway that I got. The one that Chris has is cool. There's an all black version. It's not particularly versatile in my opinion. Like, this isn't a shoe that I really want to go and wear around town or anything like that. It's definitely at home on the trail, but I think it's one of the better looking ones out there.
I'm out at one of my favorite waterfall hikes, and I'm hiking the shallow creek beds to test the waterproofing of the Scrambler Trail Low Waterproof, and it's working perfectly. So that's something I can definitely say that I like about this shoe. Lots of companies in the barefoot market have low ankle hiking shoes, but they usually don't even include water resistance, let alone waterproofing. So I'm super happy Xero decided to make a shoe like this with waterproofing. I think it makes the shoe just a little bit more functional, a little bit more versatile, and it works fantastic for beautiful hikes like this. I can enjoy walking in and out of the creek bed as much as I want, and I don't have to worry about my socks getting wet. I really like that about this shoe.
The last like that I have with this shoe is just the way that it feels on your foot. A big part of that feel is the barefoot qualities that this thing has. So obviously there's zero drop and they're fairly flexible, which is really nice. They have a pretty wide toe box. I know it doesn't fit everybody. It fits our feet just fine, especially if you get the sizing just right, which is something that Chris will talk about. But I think that the midfoot is something to pay attention to here with Xero Shoes because it doesn't really taper much. They have wider midfoots than some other barefoot shoe brands. So if that's something that you need, then this is definitely one to look at. It's really super lightweight on your foot. The website describes it as like a barely there feeling, and I do think this one kind of fits that description. It doesn't weigh you down at all when you're on the trail. And I also really like the stack height that it has. It comes in at 14 millimeters. They don't publish those on the website, but we got a handout from them earlier this year, and it kind of showed the breakdown of what makes up this stack height. And for me, for a hiking shoe, I think that that is just about right. It still provides a lot of flexibility and some ground feel, but it also gives you protection under your foot. I don't feel like I'm gonna go out and hurt myself while I'm walking around in these, stepping on sharp rocks or hard tree roots or things like that. So the overall feel of this shoe is really good, and it's one reason why I keep coming back to it.
Before we get into our dislikes, I wanted to go ahead and do a little comparison with the high ankle version of the boot. This is the Scrambler Trail High. It is the non-waterproof version. The nice thing that Xero is doing for us here with the Scrambler Trail series is you can kind of mix and match all of the different things that you might want or not want. So I wanted to get this so that I could test how the high ankle felt, which is great. The high ankle feels really, really good. And I wanted to see if it was more breathable without the waterproof lining. And it definitely is. It's not like crazy amounts more breathable, but two things I will say is the high ankle is one of the big differences here, and I really like it. And it is definitely not waterproof, though it is water resistant enough to deal with light rain and other light moisture that you might deal with out on a trail. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. It has the same stack height, it has the same traction pattern, it has the same footprint. We just get a higher ankle and a little bit more breathability out of this guy. We wanted to mention that to you because, again, you can go on Xero's website and there's a bunch of different options you can choose from when it comes to the Scrambler Trail series.
All right, so the last thing that I like about these shoes is that I feel like they're built pretty tough. So you've got this air mesh ripstop upper, which is really nice. And then it's got these welded TPU overlays. I think it's TPU. And the outsole rubber wraps up pretty high onto the toe, which is great. It also wraps up onto the heel, so there's some protection there. There's also a thicker, harder layer of TPU right behind that rubber. So I've stubbed my toe quite a few times on this hike, getting up to this nice meadow, and it's been totally fine. I haven't hurt myself at all. So I do feel like these provide a really good protection for your foot. I think that they're built pretty tough and pretty rugged. I'm not too worried about them out here getting beat up and failing on me. Before we move on to our dislikes of the shoe, we did want to mention that we have an affiliate link with Xero Shoes. It's down in the description of the video. If you're thinking about picking these guys up or you want to go see what else Xero has, then use that link to get to their website. That really helps the channel out. If you use that link to get to their website and it results in a purchase, we get a little bit of a kickback from that purchase at no extra cost to you. So like I said, it really does help the channel if you use those links. And then one thing that we always talk about in all of our videos is the perfect companion to a wide toe box shoe, and that is a good pair of toe socks. Creepers toe socks are our favorites. We've got like 20 different brands into our hands, on our feet. We've made a few different comparison videos that you should go and check out, and Creepers have always come out on top for us. We love the way that they feel on our feet. They perform super well, whether it's just casually or whether you're using them to go out hiking or running. That's where Chris and I use them most. Again, there's a link in the description of our video. Go and check out Creepers toe socks. And now over to Chris to start us off with our dislikes.
Getting into my dislikes for this shoe, the first one is going to go back to my first like, which is going to be the performance of the traction pattern. This traction pattern does not do well on slick surfaces like metal or wet rocks. So that's kind of an issue here because this thing is waterproof and the waterproofing is fantastic, as I talked about in my likes. But as I was walking around that creek bed and trying to talk to you guys about how much I like the waterproofing, I was slipping and sliding on those wet rocks. I think this is because the outsole is a little bit of a denser, harder rubber. Softer, squishier rubbers tend to do better on slick surfaces. They tend to be grippier in those situations. So because this outsole is a little bit denser and harder, it's not going to do as well on those surfaces. It is going to add to some durability because the softer, squishier outsoles, they tend to chunk and chip away over time. This isn't going to do that, but ironically, the waterproof shoe isn't going to do really well with slick, wet surfaces.
All right, so one of my dislikes when it comes to the Xero Shoes Scrambler Trail Low waterproof is something that comes with that waterproof lining, and that is that these are a little bit warm. They are kind of stuffy. I noticed that while I was out hiking with them. I noticed it while I was just wearing them out casually as well, because of that lining that's in there, which does a really good job. Like, we really enjoy that it is waterproof, but there is a bit of a sacrifice that you're gonna make there. I think that most people's feet are gonna feel a little bit warm while they're wearing this this thing.
My last dislike that I have here isn't necessarily for this shoe in general, because I got the sizing perfect on this, but it's for sizing from Xero in general. It's a little bit of an issue for us right now. This I got in a size 11. I'm usually a 10.5. My foot is 10.5 inches long exactly, which aligns with the US size 10.5 perfectly. Typically that goes into being a 44 with most European companies. But when it comes to sizing for Xero, 10.5 is way too small for me. So I go with an 11, and the sizing for this is absolutely perfect. But we just got some sandals in from them to do a sandal rundown for you guys for Xero. And one of those sandals, all of them being in size 11, one of them is a little bit too big feeling for me. So I do have sizing questions when it comes to Xero in general. I would love to see a little bit more consistency in their sizing.
Okay, so one last dislike for the Xero shoes, and this is general with their shoes, especially when it comes to their hiking shoes. I don't like the insoles that they use. In the Xero Shoes Ridgeway boot that we reviewed a couple winters ago, I actually got blisters from that insole. So it's porous, which there's a lot of other brands that do it, but they seem to pull it off better. I think the problem is the top layer. Whatever material they're using, it just doesn't provide a lot of friction in the shoe. And so my feet tend to slide back and forth right around the balls of my feet, and I get quite a bit of rubbing. Now that's an easy enough fix. You can just swap it out for another insole, but it's something that I think comes up in pretty much every Xero Shoes video that's a hiking shoe for us. I don't like those insoles.
Getting into my final opinion of the Scrambler Low Trail Waterproof, would I recommend this to somebody who's looking for a low ankle barefoot trail shoe? I think I would. This thing really sets itself apart in a couple different ways. It is extremely rugged with the reinforcements that it has. It is waterproof and low ankle at the same time. That's not usually a combination you're going to see from the rest of the barefoot shoe market. And I think it's just built like a high ankle boot with a low ankle. It's very light, it's very flexible, it's got a decent ground feel but protective stack height balance. I really like the balance that they struck with this thing, and on top of all of those features that work really well on the trail, I think it's a really good looking shoe. If you like the sound of all of those things, I know I do, then this might just be the trail shoe that you've been looking for.
Okay, so when it comes to my final opinion of the Xero Shoes Scrambler Trail Low Waterproof, would I suggest this or recommend it to other people? And I definitely think I would with this one. I've really enjoyed wearing it. As I mentioned in my likes, I really like the way that it feels on your foot. It is super lightweight. The barefoot features work for me, and I think that the stack height balance that it has is perfect for a hiking shoe. I think it's cool that it's waterproof, although that also does bring a downside like I mentioned. I think that it's a little bit stuffy, and the traction pattern on it doesn't work as well as we would like, mainly in wet situations, which is a little bit silly because it is waterproof. We find that to be common with all of Xero's shoes, and I think that the reason for that, like Chris mentioned, is the dense rubber that they use. It's got a 5,000 mile guarantee on it, which is super cool. There aren't a lot of barefoot shoes out there that would say they can go 5,000 miles. So for them to have that is awesome, but I do think it comes at the cost of it in just wet situations. Maybe go and look at the non-waterproof version. That one's probably gonna breathe better, and if you're not planning on taking it in the water anyways, then that traction pattern is gonna work out super well for you. I think they're priced well for the market that they're in. I think these ones look really cool. This is definitely a hiking shoe that you're gonna see me wearing a ton this summer, and we definitely think that you should go and check them out.
Folks, if you like this video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. All those things really help the channel out. If you're interested in any of the products that we talked about in this video, there will be links to them down in the description. If we have discount codes for any of those companies, they will be featured with the links. If you want to get more content from us, there are 3 different places you can get it. The first one is Patreon, where for $1 a month, you can get exclusive behind-the-scenes content we don't post anywhere else. If you want to be most up to date with what we are working on, make sure to follow us on Instagram, where we are constantly posting unboxing videos. Go follow us on Strava if you're interested in seeing mini reviews in real time of the products we're using and what we're using them for. Strava allows you to track and post about your different activities. We track and post about our runs, trail runs, hikes, paddleboarding, and weightlifting, and we do little mini reviews on the products we're using during those activities. Go follow us there, and we will follow you back. We appreciate your view, and as always, we will catch you in the mountains.